They count on you never noticing this. A study on coercive relationships found the same starting move every time. Studies on coercive control keep finding the same opening move. Isolate first, control later. Long before any obvious red flag, the manipulator quietly narrows who you talk to and trust. By the time anything looks wrong, you have fewer people left to ask for a second opinion. Which is exactly why it works so well. Tag someone who needs to see this. This is the pattern therapists warn people about. In the beginning, everything felt aligned, your values, your humor, your dreams. In the beginning, everything felt aligned. Your values, your humor, your dreams. Felt like finally meeting someone who just got it. What you did not know is that some people are skilled at mirroring. They pay close attention to what you love and they reflect it back at you. You fall for someone who feels like your ideal match. But what you are actually falling for is yourself. Once the mirroring stops, you meet who they actually are. And often that person has very little in common with the one you thought you knew. The connection was real. The person was not. Which is exactly why it works so well. Watch the first line again. It explains everything. This one is disturbing, but you need to see it. It happens so gradually you don't notice. One of the most dangerous tactics is isolation, and it is gradual by design. It starts small. They subtly criticize your friends, your friend is a bad influence, your family does not really get you. They get jealous of your time, sulk when you go out, and slowly make seeing others feel like more trouble than it is worth. Most people never even realize it's happening to them. Go back and watch how this started. They count on you never noticing this. No single incident looked serious enough to explain why you felt so trapped. No single incident looked serious enough to explain why you felt so trapped. It was never one thing. It was needing to check in constantly. It was jokes that were not really jokes. It was money being managed in a way that left you dependent. It was being told your memory was wrong so often you stopped trusting it. Coercive control does not look like obvious abuse from the outside. It is a pattern of small restrictions that accumulate until your world has shrunk and you do not even remember it being bigger. The absence of a single dramatic event is what makes it so hard to name. Save this. Follow Dark Mind daily. You will never see this person the same way again. You shared something personal and later found it used as ammunition. You shared something personal. Fear. Past mistake. Something that took courage to say out loud. And they listened and said the right things. But later, in an argument, it came back. Your vulnerability became a weapon. This is one of the clearest signs that someone was never safe to begin with. Trustworthy people do not use what you shared against you. Ever. When intimacy is weaponized like this, the damage goes deep because it teaches you that opening up leads to pain. Healing from it means learning that the problem was never your honesty. It was their character. Most people never even realize it's happening to them. Send this to someone who does this. This tactic has a name, and once you learn it, you will see it everywhere. Number 1 works before you even say a word. Some people just draw others in without trying, and it usually comes down to 3 triggers. 1. Controlled scarcity of attention. Giving full focus and then pulling back slightly creates a pull people cannot explain. 2. Calibrated curiosity, saying just enough to make someone want the rest of the story. 3. Mirrored energy. Matching someone's pace and tone just enough that they feel understood without knowing why. None of this requires being louder, it requires being more intentional. And that's the part that gets me every time. Watch the first line again. It explains everything. This one explains a relationship you thought you understood. If you leave a conversation more confused than when you started, that was the point. If you leave a conversation more confused than when you started, that was the point. Some people use language not to communicate but to disorient. They shift topics the moment you get close to a valid point. They redefine words mid-argument. They bring up things from years ago. They deny saying things you both know they said. By the end you are so exhausted and confused that you give up. And giving up looks like an admission of guilt to anyone watching. This is called word salad. It is a deliberate strategy to avoid accountability while making you feel like you lost. Save this. Follow Dark Mind daily. I cannot believe how common this actually is. Researchers gave it a name because it repeats so consistently. Researchers call it triangulation, bringing a third person into a conflict to create doubt and competition. It shows up in workplaces, families, and relationships with almost identical structure every time, which is exactly why psychologists study it as a distinct, predictable pattern rather than a one-off behavior. Save this. Follow Dark Mind daily. You will never see this person the same way again. Clinicians are trained to notice this within the first few minutes. Therapists are trained to notice when a client describes a partner as perfect in one sentence and terrifying in the next, with nothing in between. That gap, called idealization and devaluation, is one of the clearest early markers clinicians look for when assessing a controlling relationship. Tag someone who needs to see this. Manipulators use this so quietly you barely notice it happening. It feels like connection, but it is a technique with a name. They mirror your emotions just to get closer to you. It feels like connection, but it is a technique with a name. When you feel sad, they get sad with you. When you are excited, they match your energy instantly. It feels like being deeply understood, and for a while it is intoxicating. But real connection develops slowly, mirroring happens instantly, on command, with anyone who might be useful. The moment you stop being useful, the mirror stops reflecting. What you thought was a soulmate was actually a technique with an audience of one, performed perfectly because they had been studying you the entire time. Send this to someone who does this. You will never see this person the same way again. Number 3 gives them away every single time. Some people are not actually kind, they just perform kindness when it benefits them. Here are 5 signs someone is fake nice to you. 1. They are only nice when they need something. Track the timing. If the warmth always appears right before a favor and disappears right after, it was never warmth, it was strategy. 2. Their compliments come with a quiet sting. And that's the part that gets me every time. Rewatch the first 3 seconds. You'll catch it. You will never see this person the same way again. Acting oblivious is not the same thing as actually being oblivious. They know exactly what they are doing, the confusion is also part of it. Acting oblivious is not the same thing as actually being oblivious. The blank stare when you bring up something hurtful, the genuine sounding "what are you even talking about?" It can be so convincing that you start doubting your own memory instead of theirs. But watch closely, the same person who cannot recall hurting you can recall, in perfect detail, every single thing you have ever done wrong. Tag someone who needs to see this. Most people fall for this at least once in their life. Relationship researchers flag this exact sentence in their case studies. You're too sensitive shows up in coercive control literature as a documented minimizing tactic. It's not really about your emotions. It's designed to make you doubt them so you stop bringing up the behavior that's actually the problem. That's what makes it so hard to spot in the moment. Tag someone who needs to see this. This is the pattern therapists warn people about. Some people are so used to chaos that calm feels like a warning sign. Some people are so used to chaos that calm feels like a warning sign. Hypervigilance is the state of being permanently on alert, scanning for threats even when none are present. It develops after prolonged exposure to unpredictable environments. When you never knew if a good day would suddenly turn bad, your nervous system stopped trusting good days, kept scanning, and even after the unsafe situation ends, the scanning continues. This is not a personality flaw. It is an adaptation that kept you safe and now runs in the background without your permission. It can be unlearned, but it requires intentionally teaching your nervous system that it is allowed to rest. And that's the part that gets me every time. Rewatch the first 3 seconds. You'll catch it. Most people fall for this at least once in their life. Number 3 works even when someone is trying to hide it. Reading people is a skill, not a gift, and it comes down to 5 signals. 1. The direction of the feet. Feet point toward what someone actually wants, even when their face is smiling politely elsewhere. 2. The pause before answering. A real answer is instant. A constructed one has a half-second delay. 3. Mirrored breathing means comfort. Mismatched breathing means tension, even if their words say otherwise. 4. Watch the hands, not the face. Hands are harder to control and leak the truth first. 5. Notice who they look at first when something funny happens. That is who they actually trust in the room. Send this to someone who does this. This is exactly what they do to you, and it works every time. Small violations early on are not accidents, they are experiments. They test how much you will tolerate before they commit to anything. Small violations early on are not accidents, they are experiments. Showing up late the first few times. Making a joke that is slightly too cruel. Canceling plans last minute just to see what you say. Every time you let it slide without consequence, they log the result. By the time real problems start, they already know exactly how far they can push you, because you already showed them the entire map. And that's the part that gets me every time. Send this to someone who does this. I cannot believe how common this actually is. Number 2 is the difference almost nobody checks for. Charm and manipulation can look identical on the surface, but 3 details separate them. 1. Real charm holds up when nothing is being asked for. Manipulation only appears right before a request. 2. Real charm is consistent across every relationship they have. Manipulation is selectively aimed at people who are useful. 3. Real charm survives you saying no. Manipulation shows its true face the moment you refuse. And that's the part that gets me every time. Send this to someone who does this. Most people fall for this at least once in their life. Every vulnerable thing you shared was quietly filed away for later. They collect your secrets long before they ever need to use them. Every vulnerable thing you shared was quietly filed away for later. Early on it feels like intimacy. You share your fears, your past, your insecurities, and they listen so well. Years later, in an argument that has nothing to do with any of it, those same vulnerabilities suddenly resurface as ammunition. The listening was never really about understanding you. It was reconnaissance, and you handed over the map yourself. That's what makes it so hard to spot in the moment. Watch the first line again. It explains everything. Most people fall for this at least once in their life. Number 5 is the one liars can never fully control. Most people think liars avoid eye contact, but real tells are subtler than that. 1. They over-explain details nobody asked for. 2. Their story order shifts slightly every time they repeat it. 3. They touch their own face or neck more than usual, a self-soothing tell. 4. They answer a yes or no question with a full paragraph. 5. Their emotional reaction lags a second behind their words. 6. They repeat your question back to you to buy time before answering. And that's the part that gets me every time. Save this. Follow Dark Mind daily. This one explains a relationship you thought you understood. Number 1 happens before either person says a single word. First impressions form faster than people think, and 3 specific factors control most of it. 1. Posture read before anything is said. An open stance reads as confident. A closed one reads as defensive. 2. Vocal tone carries more weight than the actual words for the first few seconds. 3. The halo effect, one strong positive trait like a genuine smile makes people assume other good traits exist too, even with zero evidence. And that's the part that gets me every time. Tag someone who needs to see this.